Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all genders, it's been a year, but welcome to the Opie-Verse.
Shit. Did I leave the stove on?
That was fun. It's been a while since we did that, and I'm so glad that when I logged into this system that we use to do this broadcast, that all of that artwork and videos were still there. Anyway, never mind. Welcome back to the Opie-Verse. It's been too long. You don't want to see me for too long, but I'm just going to say hello to everybody. Hello to Fury Stamps, Lewis. Love that you are here for Henry, but as well here for Gabby as well. Show some love. If you haven't already, hit the like button. And we have got a poll running tonight, which is very much on brand and on topic for us, which is around Baylan Skoll. So make sure you cast your vote, because that's going to be a big talking point. As tonight we digest all things Ahsoka. What does it mean? What does it mean for what have we learned about the past in Star Wars? What does it mean for the Star Wars lore? What does it mean for the future? But then what does it mean for all our favorite little toys and gizmos and cosplayers and Comic-Cons and all that jizz as well? Jordan, hope you're well, mate. Hope you're looking after yourself after your little, fall, shall we call it? But yeah, hope you're all right, mate. And welcome along, everybody. I think we should bring our guests in tonight. I will see if anybody who saw the post earlier, maybe in the Discord, we were meant to have a sixth person with us tonight. Unfortunately, they opted out to instead go and watch Big Brother. So yeah, never mind. Hey, Jack, thanks for popping in. Nice to have you here with us. And Brightest with Bricks. What does it all mean? What does it all mean? That's what we're here to find out. We will give no answers, but we will give lots of theory and rubbish. Anyway, you're not here for me. You're not even here for these lot. You're just here for the conversation. So where should we go? I'm going to go first and foremost to the newest person to join the Opie-Verse. Everybody else is like veterans here. So I'm going to bring out this person. She is an icon of TikTok, both Star Wars and Marvel TikTok. She is growing fast and hard on Instagram. Definitely want to watch. But I give you not Gabby, just Gabby. Hello, Gabby.
Hello.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay.
Good.
Better than I'm here.
Oh, that's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. What have you got? What have you been up to?
Today's just been a lazy day. Haven't got work. Haven't been making content. Just been doing what I do.
That sounds good to me. Like, what more could you ask for? Content-wise, you said you've been making. How do you make your content? Because you and I never really chatted about this. Are you like video to video to video, or are you like super organized, lazy day? Let's knock some videos out for the rest of the week.
I tend to if I've got a couple of days off work, I'll have a day where I'm just doing whatever I want to do, and then a day of making content, and I'll just push all that out throughout the week. But otherwise, it's just when I want.
Wing it. That's the way.
Wing it.
That is the way. Great to have you here. Looking forward to having you part of the conversation, and hopefully it won't be the last time as well. Where should we go next? You know who we've gone. Should we go? I don't even know how to split them two, because they live they could probably see each other's houses. Or should we go all the way across the pond to our American guest?
Let's go all the way across the pond.
I feel like I give you no option with that one. I feel like I just put the words in your mouth anyway. Mr. Matt Mellish.
Woo! It's great to be back. I'm glad that you're finally streaming again.
Yeah. It might not be the last time. Fantastic to have you, mate. What have you been up to? Because you're very busy. You're always pushing stuff on your Instagram stories. You've always got some stream or something going on. So what have you been up to?
Oh my gosh, it's been a crazy year. Just been
Sorry,
busy.
what have you been up to, Mr. Lego Ambassador Network, man?
Been making a lot of content. Honestly, I pulled back a lot in the last year to try to focus on quality more than anything with the videos that I'm putting out. I had the goal of in the beginning of the year to focus more on YouTube, but then Twitch came along and split me up, and I started streaming on that platform. So I now do at least once a week building Lego, talking to the chat, and just hanging out, having a good time. I also am now a Lego ambassador, which is amazing to represent my community for the network, and it's been a wonderful time. I have a huge backlog of Lego, though, that's a little bit overwhelming, but it's also the best problem in the world to have. So I'm trying to whittle away at that backlog and get caught up, because I started out at the beginning of the year behind, and I'm not going to end the year behind. I don't want to, at least.
If it makes you feel any better, Matt, I think I've still got sets in my backlog from the last time we spoke on one of these streams, probably even from the first time we spoke on one of these. I mean, I've still got Sealed Light Cruiser there. I've got a UCS earwing, Matt, a UCS earwing still that I bought retail from the shop. But yeah, I mean, like, where am I putting it? Like,
right. And at that point, you wonder, like, is it worth reselling for what it's worth now in the aftermarket? And you have that back and forth within yourself. Yeah,
the turmoil of being a Lego collector. But
like I said, the best problem in the world to have.
It is indeed. Great to have you, Matt. Look forward to chatting. I know you've got a lot. I know you were raring to come into my DMs midweek, and then you're like, no, I'm going to hold back and see if it's here. So do we go with the comic book guy or the novel guy? That's just to absolutely marginalize these people as best as I literally can.
I'm going to go with the comic book guy.
Comic book guy. Mr. Comic Book Guy.
Hello. It's been a while since someone called me the comic book guy. I'll go with that. That's ace.
Well, I know for the benefit of everybody else, I had the absolute privilege, luxury, and envy of millions of women across Britain and the world last week to hang out with Henry in his bedroom. And he pointed out the Comic Book Corner, where he used to do a lot of his TikTok lives. And and by the way, I have to see it. Like, Henry, we need a video. Matt, Henry under his bed has stashes of Lego. Like, he has what he puts out to us is massively underappreciated. Like, massively under pushed.
I do have a secret stash of Lego that I do need to use a lot more. Hi, Santiago.
Sorry, I'm just saying hello to everyone.
Oh yeah, so I'll keep going. Yeah, no, I like Lego. I've got a lot of Star Wars, a lot of Lord of the Rings. I think I own every Lord of the Rings set that they've done. Hi, Joe. Hey, it's that Joe guy.
It is.
Yeah, I own Lego. I love Lego. But yeah, no, comic books used to be my thing. Well, I mean, they still are, but I just don't talk about them as much. People come up to me now and go, "You're the Phil Collins guy," which I still get that. And
do you ever get British Pete Davidson anymore?
Not as much. I had that one news article, and then that died a death. People now compare me to Aardman characters. You know, like Wallace and Gromit. Apparently, I look like I belong in an Aardman film.
Well, at least they're now part of the Star Wars universe.
It is, yes, of course.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, no, we're all good. We're all good on this end.
Good. Well, great to have you here. Loads to talk about. So, yeah, let's get the last one in and let's get cracking, because like 2 hours is not going to be enough for everything I want to talk about. But James, my boy,
hello there.
Welcome back.
It's been forever since I've been here.
It has. It hasn't been that long since you and I were streaming together, although the last time we did stream together on this kind of format was pre-celebration, but we did chat a couple of weeks ago on your TikTok, because you've been going live every week on that. What else have you been up to?
Well, today specifically, filming, writing. I had to finish off the last book that was sent over my way. It was the From a Certain Point of View, Return of the Jedi edition. Awesome book, needs to be read. Great for lore as well. And I've just been so obsessed with Starfield, so I've been playing that for about a few hours today.
Is anybody else playing Starfield?
I don't have time for games.
Yeah.
Typically,
Okay.
I moved Xbox to PlayStation for Spider-Man, and then Xbox launched one of the most popular games like every year. But I suppose Spider-Man 2 comes out in like 2 weeks, doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, James will just jump on his PS5 at that point and play them both. He's just living the best of all worlds. But good to have you, mate. I always enjoy our chats, and you always pull out some mad lore, which I think Ahsoka's going to give us, right? So we'll get into it. But I mean, there's so much to cover. Let's just start with like summary take. What did you think of the series as a whole? Like, what is your just, if you were to give like a review for like a magazine or like a soundbite review, what's your feelings on the series? And we'll go in order. So Gabby, over to you.
Oh God. I really enjoyed it. Like, I'd say it's just below Mandalorian, and I freaking loved Mandalorian. So I'd highly recommend watching Ahsoka if anyone hasn't already.
So when you see it just below Mandalorian, do you mean the Mandalorian as like all three series combined? Or
Yes.
if you were to break it down into like Mandalorian season 1, 2, and 3, and then Ahsoka series, would you rank it higher than any of the Mandalorian series, or are all Mandalorian peak, like death be upon you if you say otherwise?
I'd have to do it as like all three, because I cannot remember what happens in like each separate series. I just remember like the finale and like none of the other episodes. So it'd have to be like Mandalorian as a whole and then Ahsoka.
Okay. It's not a bad way to look at it, because it is one continuous story, and there is an argument that the Mandalorian and Ahsoka they're definitely part of the same story. But yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mellish.
Oh, I feel like this series gave us so much, yet so little. Right off the bat, it hit me in the feels as a Clone Wars Rebels fan. So for anybody out there who knows that lore and is familiar with those series, who grew up with it, it's going to be something special for you. But overall, I think it's really taking us somewhere different in Star Wars, and that's so refreshing and nice to see. A lot of the things I love are in the writing and little parts of the directing. I think the choreography and some of the action, some of the dialogue could have been punched up a bit, but overall, the series was incredible, and I'm so excited for whatever is to come with it.
I'm so happy for you to have that after the many conversations we've had.
I know.
On your point about it's taking us to new places, is it taking us to new places, or in your view, is it going full circle back to what kind of Star Wars traditionally was, as in laser swords and pew pew?
Yeah, no, I think the beginning of the series did, right? When we were in the main galaxy, but then when we left it, that's when it started to feel like we were taking a step forward instead of just figuring out what's going on in the moment. And it feels the most like George Lucas Star Wars to me. And that's really special as someone who has not been a big fan of what's been going on between Andor. Boba Fett was good. I've loved Mandalorian, but season 3 just didn't hit the right mark for me. It's just nice to return to that typical Lucas way of telling a story, which I think is why a lot of people are kind of mixed on it. We have Dave Filoni, who's the showrunner, and he's trained under the master. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he pulls out next, and I'm excited for whatever's to come.
Loving the positivity. Jim?
Yeah, so this series, like, I've tried to remain completely unbiased as I possibly can, because Ahsoka has been my all-time favorite Star Wars character for a long, long time. So I've tried to step out of this and just look at this from an outside perspective of someone new to it and how they could react to things like this. And it does tell the story reasonably well, and you wouldn't have to watch Clone Wars or Rebels, but holy shit, you would appreciate it if you did. And the nostalgia aspect and the hopefulness that this brings in terms of, well, here's all of, like, are you a Rebels fan? Are you a Clone Wars fan? It doesn't matter. There is something in there for you. And it's combining those two areas where you always had those people that chose to not watch Rebels because of the animation looked funny, or they chose not to watch Clone Wars because for whatever other reason. And there was no arguing with this. And the fact that we've now introduced, well, not really introduced, but kind of reminded the fandom about a little bit more about how the Force works in terms of Sabine. This is a great, hopeful experience, because I felt like whenever you would go and watch like A New Hope, it kind of always sort of implied like anybody could learn it, the way that Obi-Wan was talking to Luke. And now they've doubled down on this by reminding the fact of actually anybody can do this if you just set your mind to it. And we see throughout the struggles and the overcoming, and ultimately this has just brought us into a new era now, well, in between our two eras, where we're ultimately going to go towards a finer understanding and really fill in those gaps where we've had 30 years between episode 7 and 6. So
Yeah,
I'm very much looking forward to just filling in more story. I just need it more.
Henry, are you on acid?
No, there was a little midgie. There's a midgie going round. Yeah, no, I'm all right. I'm all good. What were we talking about? Ahsoka. No, that was a show. Rebels season 5. It was. I enjoyed a lot of it. I also didn't enjoy quite a bit of it as well. So I don't know. It's left me feeling like a bit of maybe like a 7 overall. You know, I wasn't blown away by it. It exists. It's there. Oh, hello. Matt's disappeared. Oh, he's actually gone.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah.
Don't worry, kids.
Yeah, no, I appreciated a lot of it. I liked Ezra's inclusion. I liked that he wasn't in it too much. I also liked Thrawn's inclusion. I saw a lot of people saying like, "Oh, they wish he was in it more," and I wish he came in earlier. But I kind of like the kind of unseen threat that he was. I liked what they did with the Morgan character. But again, like the most interesting parts were Baylan and Shin. And I kind of wish we spent more time with them as opposed to Sabine. And like Sabine's already had 4 seasons about her. I'd rather hang out with these new people. But that's just me.
I mean, I wouldn't say you're saying anything that I haven't kind of heard, and some of it I feel myself as well. Does anybody have any hot takes about it?
I don't like Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka.
James is going to log off and come and like find it.
Sorry, guys. Bye.
He's going to drive to Thirsk and punch me. No, I just don't like there. I know a lot of time has passed and she's grown as a person, right? But I fell in love with Ahsoka in Clone Wars, like quippy little annoying person. I liked her in Rebels because she maintained some of that, and maybe that's because she was still voiced by Ashley Eckstein. Maybe that was part of it. But to me, Ahsoka has like one emotion in this show, and that is just this kind of stoic. Apart from that one episode where it's played by a different person, aside from young Ahsoka, she's just like stoic and like bit unfeeling, wizened, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but there's no hint to what she once was, and I don't know, maybe that's the writing or the performance, whatever. I just struggle to connect with Rosario Dawson in this show because I felt like there was a lack of emotion in her portrayal, and that made it difficult to connect and relate, which is why everyone felt, connected to Ahsoka, was because she was young and relatable and almost your point of view character in the Clone Wars show. Don't kill me, James.
No, it's not that at all. I mean, like I've seen a lot of the same takes, and I don't have any issues with that take at all. The only thing that I do always try to remind people is that Ahsoka is acting the same way Obi-Wan did, Qui-Gon, all of those like very, very obvious stoic characters that have existed throughout. I mean, if you remember, I don't know if you've ever read any of the Padawans or anything, but Obi-Wan, he wasn't so arrogant as much, but he was very sure of himself. He was very, well, this is the right thing to do. This is what we have to do, but he's not looking at a more larger spectrum. And Ahsoka was very much like
Obi-Wan's a grass, by the way. Like Obi-Wan's a grass.
He is. But, time moves on and he grows and he becomes wisdom, and they all seem to just morph into this personality of stoic. And when I saw Ahsoka acting this way, I thought, great, you are now with these guys because you have now entered into this full life of experience that you know how to always remain calm. You don't have an attitude because you're aware about how that might look towards your apprentice or to anybody else looking in. And yeah, I get it. I look back on the Clone Wars and I like the sassy behavior between her and Anakin. Who doesn't? It's great. But then there is no Anakin, there is no Jedi. There's just her, and it's majority of the time it's serious for her. She's Fulcrum. She has a lot of jobs to do with the rebellion, or had. Now it's with the New Republic, or at least on the side. So I get the take, and I get that I miss how she was, but I now have to accept who she is now because of those experiences. That's what I look at most.
I think that's definitely that is the case. But like, I think for me, it's just I prefer it the way she were. Like, I'd rather it be like that.
But I think we get that. I think we get that by the end of the series, honestly, a little bit more, because I mean, the first half before she goes into the world between worlds and sees Anakin, like she's dealing with her past, she's dealing with that trauma, and we get to dive deep into that with her as she goes through it and figures it out on her own. And even after that episode, like there is still parts of her that are a little bit unsure of what the future holds for herself. But now I think like she's smiling a lot more. She's joking with Huang. She's making up with Sabine and righting the wrongs of her past. And I think even in the finale, like she's ready for whatever comes next and is able to face it with the same positivity that she had when she was in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
When you see her facing Anakin, do you mean her battling the Balrog and coming out as Ahsoka?
I do. I mean, that's the clear transition of the character for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I like that reference a lot. That tickled me. That was good. How do I do the thumbs up thing?
I don't know. James has nailed it though.
Yeah,
He's just sitting there like, unless someone's giving you thumbs up, James. I just keep seeing like a bubble thumbs up coming up.
Yeah, bubbly thumbs up thing.
I'm missing this. What thumbs up are you talking about?
Oh, I keep seeing it.
Oh, maybe it's when the live stream gets a like.
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Someone like the live stream and we'll see if your thumb comes up.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Who's that from? Gabby, did you have any hot takes?
Not really, no.
No?
Nothing sort
Don't
of
have
out
to.
the ordinary.
Not to put you on the spot, but yeah, you don't have to have a hot take. It's
No.
absolutely fine. I do have one. I kind of have two, but it's like the same one, and it would be like the suggestion. And I think it leans into some of the stuff. But like, I don't think the series should have been called Ahsoka, because I think a bit to Henry's point, a bit to just like that the criticism we've slightly seen of Ahsoka, and it's the same feeling about Kenobi. Personally, I think if you look at it overall, if you're doing a named project after a character, it should be a movie, and it should be tight, and it should be very clear progressing. We saw it with Kenobi. I think Kenobi like suffered from this more, but you know what we had with the Ahsoka series, we had some really like the attention was drawn elsewhere. It seems like the unilateral opinion is Baylan and I was going to say Shmi Shin were like the real standout characters. Like they're the ones that like seem to garner a lot of interest over others. And I just think that you call it a project rather than like name it after a name. And I think what that does, it takes the pressure off that character, especially when you've got that transition from an animated character with a well-recognized and loved voice in Ashley Eckstein, and then you bring it into Rosario and puts a lot of pressure on her, and then like that you want to slowly, which they did. I think they did a great job of like slowly building the story. But I just think when it's when the series is named after someone, people just kind of, the expectations are higher, and the pacing I think just didn't match that. And I then tie that in to say, well, either don't name it after someone, just kind of give it a kind of a capture all name, or make it a movie. would be my opinion, and that then really just tightens up some of the stuff. But I mean, I'm nitpicking. Do you know what I mean? Like if I then look at it more broadly, and I'm basing that on what I've kind of seen and heard from others, like out there, and I never kind of let that influence me, but I always kind of ponder it as well. And I just think if you that sort of thing kind of protects the project, protects the character, and moves them forward. From there, but that, I mean, it's such a nothing thing. But
I mean, it's like the Boba Fett series. It's like the Boba Fett thing. I remember when we did a Boba Fett one. I think we might have done one on your channel, but I think I said it should have been called like Book of Tatooine or like Gangsters or something, you know, because it's not his show. But yeah, no, I think this is definitely a universal issue with the recent Star Wars shows.
I know,
like acolytes, like not a named thing.
Exactly that. I mean, you've got like you know, the Mandalorian. Funnily enough, because what was good about the season 3 of the Mandalorian is it created a bit of discourse and debate around like who is the Mandalorian, and that I love that debate, because then it's like, oh, is it Grogu? Like, are we telling Grogu's story here? Or and it's just a little bit of that. Whereas, you know, Jeff there has said Andor. Andor was probably the one that escaped that for me. It did tell other stories, but it all pointed back into Andor, and we know where his story is going. So you feel that you're on that journey with him. How Falcons that? Yeah, we were talking to so. Yeah, that was. I mean, I think that's the only thing for me. But look, if that's all I'm picking at, like, I recognize that is such a nothing thing, and that's more like general to, like how these things are perceived. But overall, it was like it was really good. Like, I really enjoyed it, and just there were times when I just thought like, oh, it's just losing it, and then it would pull like you back in, and go from there. Does anybody have a highlight? I feel like everybody's going to see it the same one, aren't they?
It's pretty obvious.
Well, is it? Is it though?
I mean, I
yelped when I saw Rex in live action. I was sat in my own in here, and I just like, so I might have to say that.
I mean, if it made you yelp, I would say that is a highlight.
Yeah.
Yes, James.
It literally brought a tear to my eye when I saw Sabine finally use the Force. All that training and all that hard work and dedication that she's just put herself through just paid off. And it wasn't so much her bringing her saber, because as soon as I saw her bring the saber to her hand, I felt pride. I felt so proud of her. But then when she felt assured of herself that she can push Ezra onto the Chimera, that's where it hit me, because like the music, the score hit just right. She had just, like, you can see it in her eyes that she could barely believe that she was doing what she was doing. But, you know, she had faith in the Force, just like, you know, Ahsoka had told her about. And it's kind of like you've just seen, it's like when you look at someone and you've just seen when the penny drops. Like that's the feeling that I was looking for. So that was a great moment, and I think the whole Clone Wars flashback as a whole was just phenomenal. So yeah, there was a few moments where I was a little bit teary, but yeah, very, very good.
It wasn't just like what they told them, what they showed us. It was like how good it looked, and that's the one thing that Star Wars just keep smashing, especially when you look at it compared to Marvel. Like, it just looks so good and feels so good to watch. But yeah, that was like an amazing. Gabby?
It's pretty simple. I just liked it when in the first episode you had Chopper just in the whatever it's called, Phantom,
yeah,
and just hearing his like just choppiness.
Someone's put subtitles on those now, haven't they? Yeah.
Yeah, and that, funnily enough, that is mine. But what made it was the subtitles when I saw it, and I could see what you see. And I was like,
when you read the subtitles, you can literally hear it coming from him. Like, that's exactly what he said.
Yeah. No, I was, and do you know, that's probably a small other criticism. We didn't get enough Chopper. Like, just how good he is. But Matt,
he was ready to throw hands in that courtroom. Sorry,
he was. No, he was. He definitely was. I was expecting a kickoff, but yeah, shame. Matt, highlight.
everything, of course, with Mr. Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker. It was just so good to see not only like his relationship with Ahsoka, but like justice and a new way for him as an actor. We didn't get to see as much of him as I would have liked to in Kenobi, and so to really get to dive deeper into his character more was really nice. I thought just the way he presented it was superb, and it wasn't like he gave everything away either, and neither did the writing. It left a lot to your imagination and to thinking about what the lines actually mean that he's stating. You know, I think Star Wars is at its best when it makes you really think about what the character might mean by certain things.
So I think I totally agree. And I think that leads us into probably my next question of, you know, the vision. Was it episode 5 or 6? You know, Ahsoka's like Balrog moment, we'll call it. A double barrel question. And James, I'm going to come to you first on this one. But was it Anakin, and was it the world between worlds?
So I think this has been very purposefully left for audience interpretation. There are very good arguments for both sides, but no one is going to know. I'm not going to claim to know. I don't know. I can't know. Filoni himself has said something similar about the world between worlds, where he says he doesn't, even he himself who made this world, he said, I don't even know if this is a material world, and I would never confirm that because I don't want to do that to the fandom. I want them to talk about things like that. And I think something like this is going to be very similar. We've a great argument to say that he's a ghost, but it's also a vision. But I prefer to think that actually, I think it's a little bit of both. And I'm not trying to walk the line to try and keep the peace between the two opposing arguments. But when you have good amount of evidence for both, why can't it be both? And the fact of when you're looking at Anakin and think, well, why is he wearing his black tunic when he was wearing the white and beige at the end of Return of the Jedi? And I have a lot more context about that now that I've finished from a certain point of view. I know why. And also he's recalling a memory that has nothing to do with Ahsoka. Ahsoka wasn't there. When he says, I've heard that before, that's a direct reference to Luke. This has nothing to do with Ahsoka, so there's a good argument for a ghost. But it's his look, it's his physical interaction, it's why it's in the world between worlds. And this is also a very good argument to say that this is a vision, because this is exactly what happened with Cal Kestis and Jared DePaul. Cal had all of this baggage. Ahsoka has all this baggage. She has resentment for not being able to finish the training, like a regret. And Cal had all of this guilt because of his master, and he felt like he could have done enough. Both of the visions are there showing their master in an aggressive nature at some point, and they're pushing them to this degree of, do I fight back? Do I do something else? Similar, they're questioning themselves when their master, the vision, the apparition, whatever you want to call it, is pushing them because it's trying to tell them something. It's teaching them something. Cal learns, I don't have to fight anymore. And the moment he stops fighting, the lesson's over and he's learned. Ahsoka does the exact same thing, holds a blade to Anakin's throat, decides to throw it away, just like Luke. I'm not fighting. The lesson is over. So I think that because there's that little bit of information that doesn't include Ahsoka, I feel it's something about Anakin is somehow driving this vision to her, but he's creating an atmosphere that is comfortable to her. World Between Worlds can feel like a safe place because there's no one in there. There's also an aspect to say, I don't want to confuse it too much. Let's throw her into the past. This would make sense to her because she's been in that kind of environment. And also I can inflict visions, like I'll show up as Vader. Why not? That'll be a laugh, but it makes sense because it's in this era. So I think it's a good concept to say it's a little bit of both, especially when he shows up at the very end with the blue aura. You don't just choose that. You know, it's not a cosmetic design when you're a ghost. Sometimes things just happen to you when you die and you kind of roll with it. You don't have any feelings about it. So I think that the two, for me, they both work together very well, hand in hand. So I think it's Anakin pushing the visions. He's doing it without physically being there, if that makes sense.
Hope that helps.
Hope it helped.
And that's us done, guys. So we've answered all the questions. We can now. for what it's worth, like in a nutshell, I do agree. I think Anakin influenced it. I don't think it is the world between worlds, but I think he chose that because it is that safe space for for that narrative of that lesson. It was essentially a training simulation, and I think as you say, what Cal and Jaro went through was quite similar in that sense. So yeah, I probably would echo that in a far more simplistic perspective of it. Matt?
Well, I tend to be on the side of the fact that he is Anakin. He is who he says he is, or who we claim him to be, as real, because of those certain clues that we get. We get the line of dialogue where he tells her, as Mr. Veritas has said, what was it? What was it exactly, James?
Which part? Sorry.
Where he recalls the line that Luke said to him in Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I've heard that before.
Yes,
right after she says, "I won't fight you."
Exactly, that one.
Yeah.
We hear the lightsabers outside of the location where Ahsoka is in the water, by Hera's son. And I don't believe that she actually hears the lightsabers. I know a lot of people online have been fighting about that as well. But I think she just trusts her son and the fact that he's gifted in that way to know what's down in the water. But also, you could make the claim in that sense too. He's just hearing whatever echoes are in the Force to let him know of where Ahsoka is so that they can find her. I think Anakin also knows her so well. He knows how to break her from the problems that she's been in, the feeling of not being able to train an apprentice because of the baggage of her own master and all of that. I don't think she could figure that out herself, unless you also make the claim that it's the Force and the will of the Force that does that to her, because it knows what needs to happen in order for the galaxy at large to be headed in the direction that it needs to go. And I think it all comes down to that, really. It's the Force that has determined all of this more than Anakin or the choice of Ahsoka to, change in the way that she does at the end of that confrontation with her master. So I think the Force in itself is what is able to dictate all of the rest.
And it wouldn't be unlike Star Wars to explain more of this in a future project, even a very unconnected future project that just gives more lore about how the Force can influence and manifest these things. Particularly when we're going way back to the beginning of the Jedi, and we'll see a more Force-centric perspective of it, rather than kind of lightsabers and pew pew. But yeah, it's. I think it is a bit of an unanswered question, but it will be answered at some point. But at the same time, is on purposely left open for viewer interpretation, as in can be what you want it to be. Gabby, was it Anakin, and was it the world between worlds?
Yeah.
In your heart.
To be honest, I don't really understand the world between worlds. I thought it was time travel, and then I learned it wasn't time travel, and it's just I don't really get the world between worlds.
Nobody does. I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Is we've literally been given a drop in the ocean of it. There is probably barrels of untapped lore on what it could be, whether we ever get it or not. It could just be this kind of very small thing that is just kind of there, or it might become apparent more so in a future project where they really drill into it. But yeah, I think what you know is pretty much what we all know. There's nothing really out there about it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Anakin. I reckon it is, though. How can it not?
I mean, I really share James's view. Is I don't think that was physically Anakin there, but it was all manifested by Anakin. He was influencing all of that, but then obviously at the end it was. But yeah, He just tapped into what he knew would wind her up because that's what he loved to do. Henry,
Hello.
any opposing views? Any thoughts?
If I'm completely honest, I don't really care. Like what the world in between world is. Like, cheers Santiago, by the way. But the I like the idea that it is Anakin sending her this vision, this what James was saying, this kind of his presence in the Force is sending her this thing while she's dying. I like that idea, but the prospect of me trying to decipher what the hell the world between worlds is rather daunting. So I'll leave it to the masters, like this man. Yeah, I'm not qualified enough to comment, but the Anakin Force projection thing would be.
I mean,
cool.
just to provide like a tiny bit more context within the world between worlds, it is supposed to be very ambiguous because we only saw what I would believe is like a drop in the ocean of its potential and its capabilities. We've only been shown in Rebels that it's a place where time is linear and it's just you can see and hear and feel all of the past, present, and future all existing at one time. It's why when Ezra can hear Rey, it's why it's why he can hear Obi-Wan. Everything going through to the originals, prequels, sequels, it's all there and it has full access. It's why Palpatine wanted it, because he knew that this would be an untapped resource of unlimited amount of knowledge. Knowledge means power for him. So because you can use it in this capacity, that's what that comes down to. And when Gabby was saying where some people believed it was down to time travel, it's easy to believe that because of how Ahsoka is brought through. But if you remember, Ahsoka never exited into another doorway and ended up in some other time. She was smart enough to realize, I have to return back to where I came from because of the advice that she gave Ezra. You can't change what's happened here because it's going to screw up everything right here. So there's going to be this huge cataclysmic effect that where it kind of confirms that there isn't a multiverse in Star Wars. There is just one timeline. If you screw up here, you've just like destroyed everything more or less. Mm-hmm. And that's how we kind of just learn of what the world between worlds was. It's just a place to access information and where one time can influence another. And now that we've seen another use for it, to say that if this is a passing moment between what Anakin is using it for, a teaching sparring area, a place just to chill, I don't know. But whether the spirits can access this with ease is another thing to debate. But it's just more, it's kind of like an interactive archive to everything in existence. It's just the tricky thing is to access that archive.
I've got it. I know what it is. It's the Star Wars room of requirement. Prove me wrong. But,
that's the best description I've heard.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, there you go. I feel like I'm really like shitting on Ahsoka tonight, but no, that's not the case. But yeah, that's parallels. But yeah,
if that's the case, then Thrawn is he who shall not be named.
I mean, that's a really good point because of the way that they fear his return.
Right.
It's actually a really good parallel, and I'd never considered that. So well done, Matt.
Can I just say his opening speech was just glorious. Like he has to say something poetic or philosophical, and he just nailed it immediately. Especially with it being Lars Mikkelsen playing, not the voice actor and everyone else, but like it's just his voice saying something like that. Amazing.
Yeah, he just like you could just close your eyes, couldn't you? And
he was really good.
It's a shame that like Thrawn, to our knowledge, doesn't have children, because to be Thrawn's child and to have him reading you bedtime stories would be fantastic. I mean, I'm sure Lars has children and they might ask him to do it, but anyway, I digress. Was there any particular thing that anybody learned? And James, you're going to be all over this, so I'm going to push you right at the end on this, because you not only did you learn, you'll have gone digging for stuff as part of your content and conversations as well. But is that did you learn anything about Star Wars on this? I know Henry's like chomping at the bit, and I've pushed you to the end, so I'm gonna let you go first, Henry.
I learned that old guy in Rebels, the farmer bloke, is voiced by the same guy who voices Patrick.
I didn't
That's
know
what I
that.
learned. Yeah, no, you know the old guy at the start who was like, that's Patrick Star.
What's his name again?
I haven't a clue.
I love it. Begin with an R, doesn't it?
How do you even find this out?
I'm in universe. I don't know out of universe actors' names or anything like
Patrick
that,
Star.
unfortunately.
Voiced, but in fact, I've looked at Patrick Star online and it's come up with a load of in-universe stuff.
I hate to be that guy, Henry, but if you're talking,
No, it's
about
not. It's Mr. Krabs. It's Mr. Krabs.
Well,
It's Mr.
actually,
Ryder. It's Ryder,
That's
isn't
right.
it?
yes.
Ryder
Yeah,
is on.
Ryder.
Who also voices Savage Opress.
And by the
Clancy
way,
Brown.
Yes.
also was like one of the coolest characters in the Shawshank Redemption as well.
Correct.
And he's in Highlander, apparently.
What a guy.
Yeah. Cool guy.
Well, do you know what, Henry? I thank you for that one because I didn't know that, and now I've learned that. Now
Well,
you
I thought
said
it was quite a good tidbit, and then I realised that I buggered it up. So
I was shocked that he was Patrick Star, but now you see Mr. Krabs, I'm like, yeah, I can absolutely see or hear that one. Gabby, did you learn anything other than what you just
I've
learned?
just been watching a spider on my wall. I think I did have one thing that I did learn, and then since that spider, I've forgotten it. So if you come back to me, I'll have it.
We'll come back to you. Come back. I'm going to do mine. Just, but I suppose it's not confirmed, but it'll never be confirmed. But everybody picked up on this. But great, and I loved the tip to that. Essentially, Star Wars has been told by Hugh Yang, which wholly makes sense now, because of like his history. But absolutely loved that. Like little.
See, I don't like that. I hated that.
What?
In the episode when Hugh Yang went a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I was like, why? To me, I was just like, I don't get like what? I didn't need that. I didn't need that.
Henry, you don't like fun. I'm sorry, you just don't.
But no, he said it, and I know it was meant to be like mystical and cool, but for me, I was just like, I feel like I don't need to be force-fed that. I like the fact that George Lucas is telling me the story or something like that. This random robot who's appeared in a couple of episodes of Clone Wars. How does he know what's going on Dathomir and stuff?
I would argue, though, that the story, like what we'll see from so when we talk about things being answered in future projects, when we go back to the origins of the Jedi, and from a lot of what we got in this series was will potentially show us that the Jedi originated from outside of the galaxy. So, and 20,000 years ago. So I would say 20,000 years ago is a long time ago. And in a galaxy far, far away, that's where the story starts, potentially.
Maybe.
Patience.
But then why is Hugh Yang there? Like,
because he has the knowledge, doesn't he? He wouldn't be there, but
Hugh Yang has been around for about 25,000 years as well. He's just as old as the Jedi Order. So
I could say anything, and James will go, "Oh well, in this one book." I just didn't like it. I bet if I showed like my granddad that, he'd be like, "Who's this bloke?" Like I thought it was just like George Lucas telling us the story.
Well,
like, I don't know. I
always
feel like
knew
that needed to be explained.
I always knew it wasn't George Lucas, and I always knew it was a droid, but I always thought it was basically C-3PO telling us that story.
See, I always thought it was R2.
That would make more sense. Like
I always thought it was R2
in the story.
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't be C-3PO because he gets his memory erased every time he turns around.
That's why I was pushing towards R2 because he R2 had partial memory wipes, is what we've just got confirmed in from a certain point of view as well. So he had certain people erased from his memory to protect their identities. So like that kind of like screwed up my theory of it's all being told from R2's perspective because it's all, Skywalker saga. He's in all like 9 movies, including Rogue One. So why not? But yeah, can't be now.
I'm telling it's Hugh Yang. It's got to be.
It's got to be, yeah.
Matt. Oh, sorry, Gabby, did you remember it?
I have, right.
Okay.
I feel like it's like allowed me to understand more about the Force and how Sabine can use the Force. Because before, everyone thought you just had to be a Jedi or a Sith to use it. But now we've seen Sabine learn more from what she did in Rebels and actually use it. It's expanded, like the whole Force thing. And I like it.
I
End
don't.
of. You don't?
I don't.
What?
Yeah.
What I mean, I need you to clarify and expand on that a little bit, Liam.
I don't know. I mean, it's early, so like it's early in we're tapping into this, so there's a lot more to explore. But I always felt that it was like a special thing, and then it kind of like shits on a little bit of like, why would the Jedi not, like, if anybody could be trained, why do they essentially cherry pick if that way? And that's not like the Jedi way sort of thing. So surely they should seek out they should seek out kind of like more spiritual people. It just kind of throws it onto it a little bit. But I think what I particularly like, when it was happening, I was like, yeah, this is happening. Like I was over it before it even happened because I felt like, yeah, this is the moment. This is when it's going to happen. But then when she then switched up and was like, oh, okay, now I can do this Force push. What I probably would have preferred is if, like, in that moment she was able to tap into it and then couldn't, and then we see in season 2 her like using that time in exile, which we have no idea. She might return in episode 1 or whatever, but having that belief that she can do it, but still struggling with it, and then kind of starting small and working her way through.
Very much Luke Skywalker did in like episode 4 and 5, then really.
Yeah, to an extent, but like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It felt a bit.
I agree.
Thanks, Henry.
I agree with you, Liam.
I disagree.
See, also, it kind of like the fact that what popped into my head was, where do midichlorians play into this? Is Sabine highly like midichlorian counted?
No. So how it works is midichlorians, they exist in all life forms, plants. You can get Force sensitive trees, believe it or not. They exist there. So midichlorians are in every single life form you come across. And when Ahsoka says the Force is in all of us, this is the part that was confusing quite a lot of the fandom about, and myself was included here. I worked on this assumption alone, and lesson learned. But I always had the assumption that you had to have a certain amount of midichlorians in order to use the Force. But realistically, that's not true in the slightest. If you have midichlorians, you can use the Force. It just means that if you've not been born with enough of those midichlorians, it's increasingly it's increasingly more difficult to do. And Filoni used a great concept of martial arts, and he says, if I learn how to use martial arts, does that mean that I'm a martial artist? Yes. Does that mean I'm going to be as good as Bruce Lee? No, that's his skill. And that's what he's like using as terms of Jedi. Jedi are born with that skill. They are already aware of the Force because their high midichlorian count is giving them access to hear the will of the Force. The Force is literally speaking to them through their midichlorians. And it's why you see in the Clone Wars, a young infant baby is able to just easily make their toys just levitate above their head, whereas everybody else, they can't. And Filoni also pointed out someone like a character like Han Solo, someone who's considered a non-Force sensitive, is in some way using the Force. They're all Force intuitive. When Han's out there doing what he's doing best, he calls it luck, but really he's doing something with the Force that makes him a great pilot, or anybody else that has some affinity and some skill. It's all connected in some way. But this was documented in 1981 and 2015 by both George and Filoni, respectively. They've both said that, and because they've not talked about it enough, I feel like they've had to put it in Ahsoka just to remind everybody. As long as you concentrate and focus, you're all good. But the midichlorian count doesn't mean what people think it means. It doesn't mean the more you have, the more power you have. It does mean more potential, where you can easily learn a skill. We had this in The Rise of Kylo Ren, where one of Luke's Padawans pointed out that Ben Solo was doing things so easily. He was levitating rocks like it was nothing, whereas she was struggling. And she said, in quote, "Why is he more powerful? How is he doing this?" And Luke had to interrupt her and said, he's not more powerful. You can see the Force as some people are born with their door just that little bit more open, and they can communicate with the Force in such a way that it's just easy for them. But your door is just a little bit more closed than him. But with time and practice, everybody's door can open to the exact same angle where you can all unlock your full potential. Also confirming that everybody has the exact same limit of power. So there's no one better than the other. It just means you start off differently. And it's the same with Sabine, Han Solo, Leia, Luke, Rey, everybody.
I guess that concept that it kind of links to what Liam was saying. It kind of takes away the kind of special feeling of that, like the uniqueness that the Jedi have, and also almost I think kind of the desperation of the Order falling. But for me, anyway, the more I think about it now, it's like if this is so frequently available to train someone, why isn't Luke just training everyone after Return of the Jedi? Like it's not as devastating. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's not like the endangered species is dead because everyone can be a part of that species.
I think they go after who has the most potential first, because I think in the prequels,
low-hanging fruit. That's all they're doing.
Well, I think in the prequels as well, like if one of those talented individuals out there ends up falling to the dark side, then that's a potential foe for them to have to go up against in the future. So it's important that they gather all of those who have that power in order to use it for the good of their side in the war, or even before then, so it didn't have to come to people falling to the darkness again.
I'm going to use an analogy that might actually reinforce this, but also might go over everybody's head other than maybe a handful of people in the comments. You might get it, but it's a bit like Messi and Ronaldo. So Messi is this just absolute born football elite player. Like, he was born to be the GOAT, and arguably is. Ronaldo is the only person that can really be in contention with him right now, but Ronaldo was never as good as Messi when they were like 18, 20-year-old. He had to work and grind and kind of work himself up, and has brought himself to that. So I suppose I look at it that way. It's a bit like that God-given natural born ability against that hard work, dedication, training, one over the other, like talent over effort. I suppose that's it. And going back to an earlier point, it's probably one of, especially where Filoni's concerned, we tend to get no unanswered questions when all things said and done. And this could just be him putting a question out there that he will come back to and answer in the future. But that was a good debate, that one, actually. And I do feel better for it. And I'm like everywhere where I like do criticize, and it might come across as a criticism. It's not. It's just my brain in like overdrive, being like, what about this? What about this? And that's all I am ever doing. And I'm just more than anything excited to see like what it all means and brings, because I definitely have faith in it. Matt, what did you learn?
Oh, as someone who has seen the Clone Wars like 20 times straight through over and over again, because I loved it so much as a kid, and that was, my Star Wars, I actually learned something about the Clone Wars, or I thought about it in a different manner than I did before. And that's how young Ahsoka was when she was thrust in that role, and what comes with that. It all makes sense as to why she would make the decisions that she did to walk away from the Order. It also made me think of like Barriss being that age as well, and the decisions that she made at that time and why that was the case. It really put things into a better perspective from the Jedi's point of view, and how, I guess, messed up that was, that they were willing to throw children into battle as they had. So I really like that visualization, because you don't see that in the stylized animation that we got.
No, you don't. And this was a common thing that people kept saying in comment sections, that they were criticizing it to say that they felt that Ahsoka looked too young, and went, great, perfect. You now understand why that was a problem for her. And then a 14-year-old it's not a soldier.
Right.
And yeah, to open your eyes in that respect, yeah, you can look at a cartoon and figure out like how old they should be, but you don't see that, not on a realistic perspective. So yeah, 100% agree.
To be fair, I think there's a lot of people who were backtracking massively because of all of the creepy comments and pictures they probably have on their camera roll of an
That was actually
Clone Wars Ahsoka, and they're like, no, she's not 14. You're like, yeah, she is.
That was actually one of the things on one of my videos when someone said something like all of those like what was it? All of those Anakin and Ahsoka ships are being real quiet right now. So.
Yeah, it's a bit. They've definitely been showing up. See, Beth learned something today. Hope that helped. We are like literally right now hitting that 1 hour point, and do you know what? We've covered so much ground. I feel like I love that we've done that. Quick show of hands. Do you want to continue on like the Ahsoka breakdown, or do you want to take a slight break for it and talk about like merch and Lego and shit?
Slight break because I can talk about that stuff.
I can talk about anything all day.
Well, let's just delve into like Lego real quick, because I really want to like Baylan is going to be such a talking point, and I feel like it's going to sap the last of our energy like on that, and in a very positive way. I just think like certainly I'm really drawn to it. So let's kind of push that just back 15 minutes or so, and then we'll kind of finish on there. But yeah, so let's start with Lego. So Lego, we got the Ghost. We got the T6 Jedi Shuttle. We got the little snub fighter things as well, didn't we? With Shin.
Shin Hati Starfighter.
Did we see the E-Wing?
Yes. Beginning.
Yes, it was like very, very quick.
It's what Sabine goes under on her speeder.
Oh, right.
Yep.
On low fall. So did we get 3 or did we get 4 sets?
3.
Yeah. So by the way, I think they were really good sets as well. I think like price point, I think design, I think the figs that we got are like pretty good. Any arguments to that at all?
It was very refreshing to see colorful Lego Star Wars sets again.
It was a colorful Star Wars one.
Plain old grey brick.
Hey, don't shit on the Star Wars. But like what I love is that we got like the obvious stuff, so the Lego didn't become a spoiler for what we were going to see. But what's missing now? And open that up to you guys, because this is where it gets really exciting, I think, particularly as Lego collectors. But like, what's missing? What or who are we missing as far as kind of
little turtle thing? Little turtle home. That'll be a thing. Little crab house.
What they're called?
They're called Noti. They're called Noti, and have some respect for them.
Yeah. Anything else stand out to anyone?
I think the obvious
and
one.
His stormtroopers.
Okay, yeah. So like for me, I think you've got Thrawn, the 3 witches or the 3 mothers,
Enoch,
Captain Enoch, and then probably a handful of the night troopers as well. Probably you could do that as one really big cool set with like 6 minifigures or something, or you could split that up into several sets. You could do the troopers with Enoch, and then you could do Thrawn with the Night Sisters. How do you do it though?
I see them doing a Mando season 1 Dark Trooper corridor-esque thing with the troopers and Ezra. That'd
be cool.
Type thing, but fortressify it.
Would you rather that as like a more diorama set or a play set though?
That was my next question. Do you like, and that's it?
I mean, I'd prefer it as a diorama, but I could see them doing a playset thing like that, but with instead of a turny door with a closey door, with Ezra, because we haven't had him yet, and few stormtroopers and maybe an Enoch. Stick 35 quid on it. Sell like hotcakes.
I think the obvious one is the Chimera. I think another big gray ship.
How do you do that though, Matt? Because I think if you do the Chimera, you have to do the hyperdrive ring with it.
Oh,
I've
I don't think you necessarily have to do that, and I think that would be really hard for Lego to be able to produce, unless they did like a MIDI scale version of that. But then we don't get any figs.
How would you display that though? Because like it's a perfect ring around the entire Chimera. So how do you balance that without it rolling down?
Yeah. When they did the Jedi, they did Jedi Starfighters in like 2008 with the hyperdrive ring. So they could do the Chimera a similar size as the shuttle and mini size it and maybe do 2 figures. But it came with like this, I think, a clear Technic like flat thing that like attached to the ring, kind of held it in place. But I imagine it's incredibly flimsy.
I think it would have to be MIDI scale, wouldn't it? It wouldn't work as player scale. It's not going to work UCS. It would have to be MIDI. You're not getting, which they're very hot on right now, but it would look pretty cool.
See, I see it in the same scale as like the Light Cruiser and how they did that with like a docking bay section to be able to, hold some figures in it. But the thing is, we didn't really get a lot of the interior of it, so I don't necessarily think they'll go down that route, but it'd be really cool to get that ship because of how nice that entrance was for it in the show.
Yeah. It's, I mean, you could do it with like that fortress as well, like where it like docked in. You could do something like that. But yeah, there are certainly opportunities there, but I can't see it as a player set. Unless they, as you say, they do it a bit like the Light Cruiser. And we haven't had a player scale Star Destroyer for quite some time. But yeah, I don't think you get a player set with the hyperdrive ring. But then, you mock it, don't you? Like someone will build that. I wouldn't be surprised if someone's built it already. James, I know you're not a Lego guy, but you do have some Lego stuff. Is there anything that particular from what you've collected? Is there anything that would make you go to the shop and buy it?
Well, it's already out. I just can't justify buying it. It's the Ghost.
Okay.
It's about 150 quid on Amazon. I don't know if it's cheaper elsewhere because I haven't bothered looking. But I would really love that set. I'm, like you said, I'm not a big Lego guy at all. It's not that I'm massively interested in it, but there are some things I just can't quite stay away from. The Ghost is on that list for me, so it is like my favorite ship as well. So yeah, I'd definitely go for that one.
I'm surprised, based that you're seeing that you haven't said Ahsoka's T6 as well.
I saw it and I initially did have those thoughts, but what put me off was the fact that I think that while it does rotate, when you rotate it towards its like where it looks like a fish underwater basically, and it's got the fins down vertically, one side of it's decorated rather than the other, and that's really off-putting for me.
It's the same as the Mando Starfighters,
so I looked at that and I thought it's a cool design, but like, why wouldn't you do something on the other side? It was very off-putting, so I thought, nah, it's the Ghost is like easily up there for me now. So
see, for that reason, I really want that set, because with the Mando Starfighter, I made a quality video where it was like how right-handed people play with Lego, and then it had it that way so you could see it normally. You could see as it should be. Then it's like how left-handed people play with it, and then it exposed the back. And everybody was like, "You do know it spins around, don't you? You can turn it around." I was like, you are doing everything I need you to do right now. That was brilliant.
But when did Matt, you'll probably be the man to know. When did the original Lego Jedi shuttle come out? Because I loved that set as a kid. Like
the T6 I think it was around 2009 or 2010.
Yeah, I remember this is a bit of a sentimental story, but my great granddad got me that set, that one, and the droid Geonosian cannon thing. I don't know what it's called, whatever. But he got me them two, and I remember playing with that. I've got it up on my other computer, playing with this to death. That one. And I'm looking at this new Ahsoka one, and I'm like, the other one were better. The other one was bigger. You could have 4 minifigs in the cockpit of or maybe 2 in the cockpit of the other one. Why would I get this new one? The The
I
old
love how
one was
Yorkshire
mint.
Henry goes when he like has like an emotional opinion on something.
If I'm passionate about something, it'll come out. It'll
Yeah.
come out because I'll just drop all facade of like niceties and anyway. Yeah, no, the original Jedi T6,
Yeah.
brilliant set.
Gabby, do you have anything yet?
Yes.
Do you have any of the
I have the
ghosts?
ghost somewhere. Not in here though.
Oh,
And I'm stopping buying stuff because my mum's like, "Ow, what do you want for Christmas? Not buying anymore." And then if I don't get stuff, I'll just buy it myself.
it's good.
Yeah.
It's a good time of year for that. It is a good time of year for that.
I'll
Is there
stop
anything-
buying because I don't have room. That's my issue.
Yeah.
That's
I'd-
another issue as well.
Liam's seen. I have no room at all.
Just stack the
I've got the
boxes.
Benetton coming next week, and I don't know where the hell that's gonna go.
It's
Yeah,
big,
just-
Henry. It's really big.
Don't tell me about.
That's your soundbite, people.
Oh,
Anything you would like to see, Gabby, from the series that has not been revealed or anything yet?
Not really. I think we covered it all.
I mean, a Thrawn minifigure is.
Or maybe like the World Between Worlds, some sort of like little diorama of that. That'd be quite cool.
Yeah, I've got one that I'm not seeing anybody cover, and it's probably because I'm like hyper obsessed with these at the minute, and nobody gives a shit about them. But I think this is a great opportunity to introduce a Thrawn brickhead, which is like, fuck off, Henry.
I don't know how well that'd sell. Is the only thing.
Brickheads are popular again now. People because they are they have a relatively short shelf life, and they are kind of got them rolling again. They've kept that Mandalorian and Grogu one on the shelf for far too long. It is like the most overproduced set ever. But the Endor set that was released at Celebration is retiring already.
Oh really?
So there is a demand for them. You've got Ahsoka out there. You've got, I think, the Kenobi Invader one. If it hasn't already gone, it's going. So yeah, I personally, I think Thrawn brickhead, especially with the printed chest plate, and they'll actually finally get the Grand Admiral insignia on there, correct? That would be one for me. But that is just like my view as I gotta
I can
catch
see
them
them
all.
doing that as like an SDCC exclusive type thing. I think Thrawn's one of those characters that I could see them doing that, and maybe like a Ahsoka and Sabine 2-pack for brickheads. They're like a 2-pack.
I would rage if they did another like Comic-Con exclusive. I hope they're past that because
Didn't they do that same thing with Thrawn's Funko for Star Wars Rebel collection in the Funko Pop
maybe that's why this has popped into my head.
Yeah, because like I mean, when we were at Star Wars Celebration, I went Funko Pop mad, and I found a Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Rebels edition, and they threw on the Celebration sticker onto the box, and it was being sold for 600 quid.
I got this one, by the way.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I said to the guy though, like, I was never going to go through with it, but I said to them, like, as a joke, are you open to haggling? And he says, well, what have you seen? It says the Thrawn, and he goes, I can knock that down to 550 for you. So he's going to knock 50 quid off of 600 just to like. So I thought, to be fair, I didn't even.
Venator.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and cons are like seems to be the worst place to buy these things. This is a good one, right? So the Purgle, like, and I might, but how would you do that? Would you do a buildable, would you do a UCS Purgle, or would you like have to create a new mold and have it like as a big fig animal type fig, or like do you do something like?
You need to do a UCS Purgle with its mouth opening so you can fit the T6 inside.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
That would be the size of me. Right?
That would be nice.
I'm here for it, but yeah, just like bear that in mind.
I think they would do something similar to the Avatar whale, honestly.
Yeah,
where part of it is uniquely molded, and then the other part is brick built. And there are different sizes of Purgle too. You could have a smaller one from that lot that we saw on the show.
We all want the big one.
It's like, what would you pair with? I guess you'd pair like some mini a mini Star Destroyer and a mini T6 with it, maybe, I guess. So that could eat it.
You could do like a bit of an X-wing trench run diorama. You could do a Purrgil diorama, so you get multiple of with a miniature T6 in there or something along that lines.
Mm-hmm.
Unless
Yeah,
you redo
What would like the background be though? Like
black.
with the trench run, you have like
Black.
the flooring in the back, like
Yeah.
black with
Pure
some white
black with some
specks on it.
clear studs, and that's it.
Yeah,
Unless you redid the Battle of Lothal, where you had all those multiple ones that were there.
That would be a good diorama. And you could do the bridge of the Chimera, and you could put like the Purrgil's tentacles running through it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be really cool.
That's what I was
when-
thinking.
Yeah. When we talk about that scale, I'd be thinking of kind of the tentacles of the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness set. Or the Brainiac ship from like 2012, because Brainiac's ship is like an octopus. See, I'm going proper like, oh, nerd here. I don't show this a lot. But Brainiac's ship from like 2012 looked like an octopus. You rip the head off of that, stick on a whale head. Boom, there you go. Getting a mini Star Destroyer sorted.
Yeah. I think this is a good one as well.
Oh, this is.
I mean, Captain Enoch would be a good helmet as well.
Mm.
But it'd be a bit of a toughy one, but I'm sure that they'd be.
I mean, we're getting a Sabine helmet in Black Series, so that's on its way. Could be pretty cool to get like forgive me, I don't know what it's called, but you know, you get the Captain Rex, Captain Cody helmet, Lego display things, those things. So unless they can do something like that as well.
I mean, yeah. And the thing is with Sabine, she's had what 4 or 5 helmets. Like if you go through, like Rebels as well. So the question would be: is do they over time? I think there's a lot of speculation that Lego are ditching the helmets. I don't think that's the case. I think they've got people on the hook, and I think they've slowed it down. I think they're introducing more things in, like the dioramas are picking up, the MIDI scale, and I think that's what it's going to be now. Is like a little bit, like fewer of a lot more types of things. So like 3 helmets a year would be brilliant, I think. But yeah, it's like good time to speculate, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, you know, we might not get anything. You think from Book of Boba Fett, we literally got the N1 stuff. We didn't get a Boba, but to be fair, we got Boba's Palace from Mando season 2. You know, Kenobi, we got random sets, Andor, we got 1 set. So there's nothing to say that we're going to get anything else from that. This is where I go blank, but I'm probably looking at like to that side of the screen. But James, you touched on the Sabine helmet Black Series. Have we got anything else? Have there been any Black Series figs released, or take us through it?
Figure. I mean, unfortunately, I don't follow a lot of the merchandise, so to speak. The only thing that I do follow is the Black Series helmets. I'm collecting so many of them right now. I'm literally running out of space. But the 2 that I'm aware of is that they are doing the Black Series Sabine helmet for Sabine Wren. That's going to be released sometime in September, I think. And then you have Captain Rex's Black Series helmet, and that is coming out, I believe, is February. So they do look absolutely phenomenal. I have them both on pre-order. I have no regrets. I just need to find where to put them. But some people have pointed out that I think the Rex one looks ever so slightly off. Like they weren't happy with the length of the rangefinder, but we're talking like an inch or half an inch, like in its length. I'm happy
for it to lose an inch. You know, it's like you know, it's an inch shy is nothing by my account, I reckon. Like, but never mind. Yeah, it does look cool though, and it's good to have in there. Gabby, have you? Because I know you collect the figs, right?
Yes, I've got Hera on pre-order. I've got Chopper on pre-order. I've got Baylan Skoll on pre-order. Whatever her name is, his apprentice woman.
Shin
Hati.
That's the one. I got Sabine. Ezra. I tried. Ezra's out of stock. I'm mortified by that.
out of
And it's
stock
not
on
even-
pre-order.
Yeah, and it's not even the one like how he looks in the show. It's how he looks in Rebels.
Dang.
There's
Okay.
some in London Forbidden Planet, or at least there
Oh.
were 3 days ago.
Oh, they're probably gone.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
gone now. Yeah, they're gone now.
Yeah.
What about that HasLab Ghost? Have you seen that? That's insane.
I was thinking of it, but it's quite
Let's
a
have
lot
a
of
look.
money. It's like
It's a big
250.
one.
Yeah.
Is it in
It's-
scale with the 3 3/4 inch figures?
I think
Oh,
so.
wow.
Yes.
Oh my god!
Oh wow.
Is that the one they unveiled at one of the US Comic Cons? They like Hasbro brought it out.
It's 500 quid.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure because it's
Oh.
also one that requires backers in order to make. Because they did the Sail Barge, that was the first one. The
Yeah.
Razor Crest was another one in that same scale, and now they have the Ghost.
This has hit the target of 8,000 backers. It has 21,768 backers, and shipping is fall next year.
It's
Um,
crazy how like far in advance they announce and release stuff.
I think because it's one of these backing things, but I've looked at these backing things before. Because they did one for like the Jurassic Park gates, and it was like if it reaches certain amount of backers, then they'll throw in the Jeep, they'll throw in the T-Rex, they'll throw in the figures. But if they don't reach that amount of backers,
No.
the only thing you're getting is the gates.
And
And
what
it's
does
like-
it take to back these things? Do you have to like pre-order or?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's like
Okay.
I'm giving you 500 quid now for a product I'm gonna get in fall next year.
But they really go up in price if like you don't get it at
Right.
that time.
I mean, it looks great, but
Mm.
it does come with a Phantom as well.
A UCS
It
Ghost would be
soften
nice
the
at some
blow.
point as well. For like
It's it feels like in a world where we're now getting regular UCS sets, we can't be far out from that. When we're in a world where they're just redoing UCS sets as
Right,
well. It feels a bit, but I guess we'll see. All right. Anything else anybody wants to cover on merch or like that? Is there anything else we've missed? Does anybody collect like hot toys or anything like that? Or do everybody
Any
just
cool
look at hot-
lightsabers?
Oh yeah.
I know. I did No, this is going to sound incredibly wanky, so I'm not going to say that. But apparently there are some Black Series Ahsoka lightsabers coming at some point.
Oh,
I don't
Are
know.
some already out?
Potentially. I don't know. They weren't out when I did the Ahsoka stuff. So
there are Disney ones, but are there Black Series ones? Are they the same thing?
I always thought they were.
I think they have, if they're separate, then I think they have the same quality. And in my opinion, they're not very good quality.
they're awful.
When you know, like, don't get me wrong, cosmetically they are perfect, but if you want 1-to-1 ratio, no, they're not. They always look too chunky, clunky. Like if you look at Luke Skywalker's, for example, like, yeah, they can give you the skinny neck emitter, but the entire handle is just way too big. And in order to lie it up, you have to take the skinny neck emitter off and then put on a much thicker one. And I thought, why, when you have third parties out there that have solved this problem and look so much better? And so, like, I mean, I collect lightsabers, but third-party sabers, and they look just as good. They look phenomenally well. There are a couple of little things here and there that aren't it, but it's like I don't care. It looks enough for me, and especially if you want the lighting quality, the sound, motion, everything. It's got everything that Disney just can't do as well, in my opinion. I third-party all the way for me until Disney can solve this issue.
See, I never really, not that I didn't trust, well, I guess I didn't trust them because, like, you know, it's third party and you don't know what you're doing. So when I went to Galaxy's Edge, I was like, I'm buying some lightsabers. So I bought Ahsoka's Clone Wars ones. And at the time, I was like, this is mint. I'm in front of the Falcon with my lightsabers. And then I get home and I'm like, I've dropped 300 quid on these pieces of shit. And it is that they are crap. And when you look online as well, Star Wars Black Series, Ahsoka Tano lightsaber, they're not out yet. 300 quid for one. For one.
Yeah.
And then they've got a Sabine one on pre-order as well, which is, it's only 270 quid. But you could get like a much more decent third-party one for like half of that price.
They've even got Baylan Skoll's lightsaber out in third party.
Oh.
Yeah,
This looks great. So good.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. Does anybody have a lightsaber third-party link that they want to plug? just
Hi.
go on, hit the line.
So Parsec Sabers is you guys.
Yeah.
They really are. They have like an extensive, massive collection. They do ship worldwide. I have a discount code. For the love of God, use it. Veritas5. Hi. But no, they got so much on there that range from the prequels, originals, and sequels. They've even got outside perspectives like Starkiller, Revan on both the light side and the dark side. So like there's something for everybody on there. And whether you want that as baselit, so you can like really focus on heavy dueling, like you could twat the shit out of something and there won't even be a crack on like the blade, or you can go for like the more like you can get the lighting effects where you can't quite go heavy, but it's all good.
God, this is really the hard sell here, James. God, how much are they paying you for this?
James's daughter can testify to that that thrashing one.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
No, we have full on duels with the baselets, and a 7-year-old just doesn't know their own strength. So like she'll like full on go for you, but it's cool. Nothing breaks except for your bones.
Awesome.
I know Jordan was here earlier as well, but I'm sure like it seems like there is a new third party company out every day as well, yeah, they're very similar, and I don't know if it is the same or what, but one thing I would say is personally I always buy from people, and those lads are like great lads. Like I've had the pleasure of interacting with them at Celebration MCM. They are really good lads, and like that for me, if I was told of where to go, I'd be like, yeah, I'd help them lads because they are good lads.
What I like about them is it's just not business with them all the time. Yeah. It's just let's just chat, and just like they're not even talking to like hype up their stuff. They're just talking because they love talking about Star Wars.
And they are fans.
They are huge fans. Very dedicated. Very, very good guys.
Yeah,
we'll clip this and send it to them.
Yeah. Jordan's quiet in the chat because he's got this on screen record right now. So that's my next video done. But
he's already working on the edits.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh, there he is.
Right, guys. So we're like half an hour left-ish, but Baylan Skoll. Where do we start? Did he steal the show?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I love Ahsoka, but this is the Baylan show. I'm sorry, it is.
Yeah.
It's so good. He was so good. And like, it's so heartbreaking that this was Rey's final performance. And like, it's good to a sense. I know it's how it sounds, but it's good to a sense that this was his final one because it was such a great one. But it's also equally as sad that he's not seeing all of this love that everyone has given him. Yeah. I've never once come across a single person that said that they didn't like his performance. They were all fascinated with him. Where is he going? What is he doing? Why is he acting this way? He really gravitated everybody to this character. He did that phenomenally well. Perfect casting.
I mean, what more is there to say? But I can't add to that. If you do have anything more to add, feel free. But yeah, I couldn't.
Very new. I feel like he did so much with seemingly not a lot. I didn't feel like there was a lot of dialogue that he used. His performance was very nuanced. It was very layered. It kept everyone. Everyone was guessing from the introductions. I mean, the orange lightsabers had people guessing on their stances and everything. But his performance of you could sense the conflict in him. Very, very good. And that end shot, that last shot. Brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant. I do crying shame.
I do have a theory which I'll come back to like later on this, but He, because of there's something I've kind of considered in the past, but he as a character has really, and when you talk about that conflict, in his perspective, has really given me a view of like how this could, like my theory could work out. But I don't want to kind of digress too much on that, so I'll come back to it. But yeah, he just he did steal the show, and it is such a shit. Like that's the true travesty of all of this, is that, you know, obviously Ray one didn't get to see that beauty and the love for him, because I genuinely believe it's not even, the love is not just there because of what's happened to him. Like it was so, like ultimately, like we're the type of fans that exist in the Star Wars universe wouldn't just give him that just because, but he was such a good performance and he's such an interesting character. But it's now like, you know, what is the future of the character? That's the subject of the poll tonight, and it's actually stole the thing, which I'm quite surprised about, is do we recast the character? That seems to be the majority perspective on that, but do we agree?
No.
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 I don't.
No. Go on, Matt.
Oh, okay. I don't, specifically because of the character's performance is, to me, what makes the character. It's Ray, right? It's not the writing, it's those little nuances that he throws in as a classically trained actor. And he knows his stuff, he knows how to stack his beats, he has everything down to the T. And I don't think that can just be recasted with a new actor. I think you need him for the character. My pitch would be, we know where he's going, but we don't know exactly what his path is going forward. And so it would be cool to see the characters try to figure out what happened to him at the same time as us.
Yeah.
A mystery to be solved. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
I
that'd be
think
very
as
good.
well, the way it kind of, the end of the show lends itself well to exploring him in other the character in other media, because Sabine and Ahsoka will probably end up back in our galaxy, back in the galaxy, let's say, like at some point it seems likely that will happen. And the chance of them spending another season of a show on Sabine and Ahsoka in a completely separate galaxy, completely different story, doesn't feel like something that Disney would okay. Like I feel like if they were to do another season, they'd want it to be progressing the main storyline leading towards Heir of the Empire movie, Dave Filoni film. So the fact that the character of Baylan is kind of out here on this planet on his own lends itself well to having a long-running comic series about him, and or even like a 5-issue miniseries or something, a book series. I'd like to see him in. I'd like to see him in something like that, as opposed to it being a show. Maybe even a Tales of the Jedi-esque thing could be cool. But no, I don't think they should recast him in live action, and I couldn't see them really doing that.
Gabby, what do you think?
I've seen a lot of people saying about like CGIing, like what they do with Luke, but I just there's not enough of him to be able to CGI him.
I also think it's both kind of disrespectful both to Ray and also because I think this of like Luke, the person who actually plays Luke in The Mandalorian, it's almost disrespectful.
He looks pretty similar.
Yeah, it's just like it's a bit of like, oh, you're essentially just a dummy, and like, you know, it takes away a bit of shine from him. I think you can do it in that sense though, because Mark Hamill is like, yeah, let's do this. Like, you know, people want to see young Luke. Essentially, they see me as Luke. I give my blessing. I will work on this project. I suppose it ties in, not to digress too much about this whole thing around like AI and the strikes and all that. If they do that without his permission, that it's especially at the minute, it's very dodgy ground, I think. So that would just be kind of my view. But yeah, I personally wouldn't go down that route. As far as recasting, would you recast clean though? Like bring in a new actor? And
if they were to recast it, I'd like age him up, like age him up drastically, set a story like far in the future, or give us an in between Order 66 and now, where it's kind of like required that you have to recast him because he's like 80 or he's like 23. If they wanted to continue his story like that and recast him along those lines, then I think that would be more palatable, let's say.
But there's a story. The problem is there's a story to tell, isn't there? That's the issue. There is a story, like where we leave him. I've seen like Liev Schreiber, like, and it's total fan casting, but you know, it look like it. The problem I think there, especially with someone like Liev, would be an actor of that caliber wants to come in and make that character his own, and wouldn't want to be drawn upon like what the source material is. So then you start drawing comparisons. Then do you do the opposite way? You go for a bit of an up-and-comer, a bit of an unrecognized actor who is brought in to model Rey, but then at the same time, it's like, well, it's kind of not them. And it's really difficult. My personal view would be we continue that story. Certainly the detail of that story in a novel or actually in a comic book would be mine, because then you get the visual of it as well. Like, I think that then it continues that connection of we see Rey, and that's, you know, something we see. That would be my personal view, is we take that, but there is absolutely a story to tell and it needs to be told. The other question is the story that is to be told. Right, okay, quick show of hands. Who delves into Legends at all? Okay.
Dabble. I wet my feet.
So does Abeloth mean anyone to anyone? Is this what we're getting?
Merlin.
I don't think it is what we're getting. I really don't.
100% no. And I at this stage, I think I could put money on it. No, not Abeloth in the slightest.
Why? And I'm not. That's not me saying I do, because I don't know enough. But I'm just
so. When I look at things like this, I look at Filoni's method of when he's introducing characters, creating new characters, storylines, etc. Filoni always said that if we're going to introduce a new concept, we're going to check Legends first. We're going to check to see if it's been done. Well, sure, we could create a new character. Yeah, sure, we could create this thing. But we will see if Legends has done it, because it's great for the fans. It means that the thing that you grew up reading, watching, has now made it to canon. But he also said that you don't want to just take something from Legends, take the pieces that don't either fit, just to make it fit the narrative of canon, because it has to. There's a story and continuity to uphold. That if you start to do things like that, then he said, and quote, that's just rude, because someone else created that. And you've just, you've molded it into something else entirely. Yeah. And they did this with Thrawn. Thrawn, they virtually changed nothing about him. They checked to see if like a menacing villain of great intellectual caliber existed. Yeah, Thrawn. Oh, it was in that same time and place. Great. Let's just move him over. Simple as that. With Abeloth, holy shit, you would change so much. So much. The entire use of the Force in Legends does not work the exact same way as canon. And that is a fundamental problem when you bring something like that in there. I don't necessarily mind the idea of there being a fourth entity in the Mortis God arc. I don't mind that, but it has to be something new. It can't be Abeloth, because again, it goes back to Filoni's way of bringing something in. So this is why I can confidently say that it's not Abeloth, because of how Filoni does things. So you can like bring in the theories, cool. They're great to read about. They really are. But I know deep down it's never going to be her. It can't be her. And it goes back to the Starkiller thing all over again. You would be changing so much about him to make him fit as Marek, because I saw those theories. I was even kind of swaying towards it at one point, because I thought that's the nostalgia in me from when I used to play the Force Unleashed games. But at the same time, I thought, but if you do, no one will be happy with that. And it's the same thing with this. So no, they would fundamentally have to change everything to make her fit. And I think it would be wrong.
I don't know enough. I just know the outline of the character, kind of what happened to her, kind of where she is in, like where she ended up. That's all I kind of know. But to explain it like that around, this, she just wouldn't work. I totally get that, and the Starkiller reference is a great one to understand that, because I'm fully on board with that. You can't bring Starkiller as he is in the canon. If you then change him to bring him into canon, there's no point in doing him. You're better off bringing somebody who's totally new, who's like, people are like, oh, he's a bit influenced by that, but yeah. So I suppose the ultimate question is, where is he going? What is the power?
I think the shimmering tower off into the distance that we see.
Mount Doom, by the way.
Yes, Mount Doom, where he's looking off into the distance, it definitely has the reflection of how we see that Mortis monastery in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And I think it's a similar sort of structure that he's going towards. Whether or not there will be an actual celestial Mortis god entity there or not, I think is to be seen. But at least the source of where their power is from, I think, will at least be captured or attempt to be by Baylan in some way, shape, or form.
Gabby, do you have any theories? Are you just enjoying the ride? Henry? You still
Hello.
with us?
Yes, no, I don't have. I was just reading up on Abeloth because I haven't a clue what you're on about. I don't have a clue what he's going towards. It's just exciting. It's just like, oh, he's on another adventure. That's great. I can't wait to read about it. I want to read about it. That's what I want to do.
I like personally, I think it'd be a great audiobook as well. Like, just to be a very immersive story. Yeah. That'd be all up for that.
But yeah, no, it's all really exciting stuff. There's definitely a future for the character, and I think people would rather, the majority would rather the character's story carry on in some other media as opposed to them completely drop and forget about it.
Yeah,
which I think is the last thing that anyone would really want to happen. So yeah, praying that they crack on with that soonish.
Agreed. James, if anybody's going to have any like deep-rooted theory with receipts, it's you, my friend.
Nope. So the reason that is it's all right knowing what you know and being able to make that fit, but you can do a lot of that. Like I've seen the theories of it being Abeloth. I've seen theories of it being something Zephonian. That's seen mine, Bendu.
That is mine. I'm still convinced it's Zephyr.
Anyway, I can't see it. The only reason I don't see it is because I don't want to see it. I don't want to be able to just work out what it is, and then it just feels very underwhelming. It's why I was very relieved that Marek wasn't Starkiller, because it was making sense that you could, make his story work, but you would, like I said before, and you would have to change a lot of things. But it's relief there that not knowing what it is makes that whole experience of watching Star Wars for the first time, because as big of fans as we are and as long as fans as we've been, we're still experiencing new content for the first time. And that's a great thing to know. I mean, like, can you imagine what it was like back in 83 when you realized that, oh, Vader turns good again? That's something brand new. And we've been with this franchise since 77. We're doing this now in 2023 with Ahsoka, and we're still experiencing something brand new and true and pure. And that's what I try to stay away from. I don't go to the theories because I see what happens to some people out there that really invest into a theory. They invest into it so much that they're convinced it's going to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, well, that TV show was pure shit in their opinion. And it wasn't shit. It just didn't match up to what you wanted it to do. So no, I don't have any theories. I'm trying to keep it very open. I have some ideas in terms of like the whole Christmas tree blinking off into the distance. While it does have some Mount Doom, sorry. While it does have a very easy reflection of the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars, it's Mortis related. It has to be Mortis related because of the statues that are there. I don't feel it's necessarily an object. I feel it's a temple as such, and I feel like the temple, if it's going to have anything, it's not going to be something physical, it's going to be knowledge. And I think that this is what the fundamental thing is about a Jedi is. I know Baylan isn't at this stage, but they're always looking for something new in terms of knowledge to enrich themselves, to become a better version of themselves. And I think with Baylan being so sure of himself that the Jedi were weak, the Force does guide even the dark side users to a place of where they have an opportunity to turn back to the light, or they are confronted with someone that could convince them, if not destroy them. So the Force always pushes you in certain directions, and this is what it's been doing with Baylan since they got there. And I like to think that it's knowledge to give him that chance, that opportunity. Here is the final chance. Do you want to come back, or do you want to stay on this path and be at fucking risk? So I think it's knowledge, in my personal opinion. What it is, I don't know. I don't really want to know. I just want to see it come at me with complete surprise.
Yeah,
I feel that. I do feel that. I do take your point. Is every time we think we know, we don't know. We don't know. Like, he knows what he's doing, and I love to like speculate, and I love to build up my hopes and expectations, but then I also love to be wrong. But I get that there's a lot of people that don't do that. Oh, I thought Gabby was doing cartwheels. But it's one of them, isn't it? But now I'm really interested, and it's just a bit of a shame that it's certainly not going to continue how it was planned. But I certainly hope it'll continue. Good question on Marek though, because that was a really good point. As well, we were all convinced it was this. Do we get a book or a comic on him, just to kind of bridge the gap from being an Inquisitor into, was he then killed and then reignited through Morgan? And like, does that story need to be told? Because I'd like it.
I mean, I think it'd be cool, but I don't think it's a necessity. Like, it would be a nice little add-on, but I don't think anyone's hollering for the Marok backstory, or Marek, whatever his name is. Your petition for Marek's true story to be told.
Yeah, look in the description below. There's a change.org petition. We'll get that started, but never mind. I would like to see that, but I suppose it's just like, this is one thing I love, is just the more content we get, it creates more opportunity for content. And I love all the different certain points of view.
You could see him showing up maybe in the third Jedi Fallen Order game. You know, the Inquisitors are after them. Yeah. To be fair, I can't really remember if the Inquisitors are still after him. But some Inquisitors showed up in the second one, so they could show up again, and maybe he'll be one of them.
We can't. Yeah.
I mean, they are. Vader showed up with Seer Junda, and he mocked her by saying the Inquisitoria still stands. By basically saying, what you've done nothing, you've changed nothing. So it's kind of like putting her down. So they're still out there. I think they just have no clue where he is. Personally, on Marek, though, I don't think he should have a backstory, only because I think that he served as a point to say that his reveal of him being magic green space dust was the point of, well, this is a product of Night Sister magic. And it was a nod to say that that's going to play a much more important role in there. I think it just served to give us a hint in terms of the plot, like, where is this going to go? And this might serve much more well in the next series or whatever it is that they're going to do to continue the story. But I feel like the confirmation that he's a Night Sister product, whether he's an enhanced like Savage Opress, or he's resurrected, or he's a possessed corpse as such, whichever route you want to go, the main thing that it is clear, it's a Night Sister product. Oh, look, there's 3 great mothers that's turned up in a couple of episodes later on, and they're doing their magic. Oh, look, they're bringing these things in from the crypt that looked eerily like coffins. Oh, look, they're going to Dathomir. You know, it's all pointing to this direction that Marek is the thing that they're probably going to try and create the army of. So I don't think Marek is a character. Marek is a warning to the rest of the galaxy. That's how I interpreted that. I don't think it's a person.
So do you know what that is?
What?
Thrawn is the Night King, and they are the arm of the other dead. Instead of dragons, we're going to get reincarnated Rancor, which originated on Dathomir.
To be fair, no, that would be really cool, and I'd be for that. Like, because they tamed rancors way back when in Dathomir, they rode them and and everything like that. So to see, I mean, I know we had that kind of in the Book of Boba Fett, but to see like an army of them would be so good, so good.
There's your moment, isn't it? You're going to get Boba on his rancor, and then somebody on a reincarnated Dathomirian Night Witch. Yeah.
Wow. I think also like a lot of these things are interesting because of the discussion around them. Like Merrick, like the only reason we cared about that character was because of the mystery behind it, us not knowing what it exactly was at the time. And now that we have more perspective, we can try to figure out, what the future is for the story going forward. It's the same with Mortis in a way too. Like it's the conversation around it that makes this interesting. And I think going off of James's point too, like it's hard to get excited for a theory based on literally nothing. Like, because it's the storytellers that are running the show, and it's our trust in them going forward that's really the most important thing, I think, in order to like not be hung up on something and get disappointed later on.
Sorry, Liam. It was like to add more into that. It is good that there is some mystery even within the Star Wars universe that does not require an explanation. It could have an explanation, but to make it work, sometimes the mystery is part of the storytelling. Yoda's origins, I never want an origin for him. I never want that, because his mystery works. You naturally trust a character like that. And if you start to bring in this other side of Yoda, then the mystery of his character kind of goes away. You kind of take something away from that. And when you introduce these mystical elements of Star Wars, and it kind of makes you realize when you think you understand something about the Force, you really don't. There's so much more out there that even exists in a completely different galaxy on a planet called Peridia, that the Mortis gods has something in common with the regular galaxy that existed in the Clone Wars. There's so much lore around them within a completely separate planet to what they had in that obelisk is phenomenal. But to leave it as a mystery works so much better than it is. Like the whole Darksaber thing as well. Everybody so badly wants an origin story for the Darksaber. I do not want a story, because the whole point of the Darksaber is its mystery. We know who it was made by, but where the Black Crystal comes from, who gives a shit? I don't. All I know is that it's so unique to an extent that everybody wants to know about it. Great, it's grabbed your interest, but as soon as we tell you what it means, it no longer becomes unique. It no longer becomes special, and it's don't want that. I don't. Exactly that. Yeah. And when they destroyed it in The Mandalorian season 3, like I thought, oh, some people are going to bitch so hard about this, but at the same time, I was like, no. Because it's worked perfectly well that this object was ruling an entire race of people. Now it's gone and they can do their own thing. And now you will never know where that originated from unless the writers decide, here's a story about it. Mystery works better in Star Wars than people realize. I leave it alone kind of thing.
Agreed. And that's why I don't like Hu Yang telling the story.
The thing is, what I love about Hu Yang is that they easily reference him as Doctor Who in I think it was Padawan.
Don't they say he's like some blue box or something?
They do, yeah. It's a rumor that exists within in the universe, and the rumor is that Hu Yang arrived shortly after the Jedi Order was born in some big blue box, and they left it at that. And I thought that's so good.
That's ace. That's ace.
Yeah, and I think like if you're going to answer a question as well, you have to allow it to lead to more questioning as you do that. I thought it was funny in the Clone Wars how they like answered the question about the clones in Order 66 and why that's the case, why they're able to turn on their Jedi Masters, but you still wonder like why didn't they turn on Anakin? And it still begs more questions, even though they're answering something that's been wondered about for years at a time.
I think with that as well, there are some things that have to have answers,
right?
Like the whole, well, why was Anakin spared? Why is it that they did target Ahsoka, considering that Rex's logic was, well, she's not a Jedi. And then Jesse had to be all like, no, you know the rules. She's on a list. So it means that there's a list that's not just dedicated to just Jedi. There are people that made that list. They were removed from that list. Anakin was one of them. But it's one of those great things where, yeah, okay, we do have to explain this for the purpose of making it believable. But the mystical side of things, I think, like if you leave that enshrouded of mystery, is exactly what the writers would want you to feel as a Padawan, because a Padawan is always questioning and wanting to learn and being very eager about it, because we're all a little bit eager when we have our theories and we think they're going to pan out well, but then it turns out that it wasn't that, and you yourself have just learned something new, or at least if you open yourself up to it, you can learn something from that. And that is the great thing, that you are experiencing the story with the character at the same time. A Padawan thinks they know something when really they don't, and I love that concept, that we're included with the story in some way.
What a time for me to go to the toilet. No, good. It's a really good point. Good perspective. Final question, because we're really pushing on. But question from me, open. We know, and I hate the whole discourse of like, oh, they're rewriting the sequels. Like, we know that's not the case, but we know we are getting. It's like, I feel like more than anything, they're just like kind of like, let's move on from them a little bit. We know we're getting Daisy Ridley coming back. We know we're getting Rey coming back, but that's not necessarily say Rey is going to be the main character. Do we think what we're seeing here is almost kind of not going to connect to the sequels, but it's going to kind of leapfrog and connect with the next phase in the Star Wars saga in that? And this comes back to and it's very much a fan theory in mind, but yeah, I'm kind of plotting with that. But do we think we're setting up for the next phase? Because there's a lot of talk, like, does Grogu end up there, or
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like it's setting up a lot of stories. Like, it's kind of like Marvel, where they're introducing all of this and it's not really like narrowing down for the future. Like, also you got like Mando, you got Boba Fett, who's now like being revived, you got Ahsoka, Sabine, like the whole Ghost crew.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just not really narrowing it down to like one single story.
It'd be a lot of setup for them to not do anything with it later, I think.
Like,
and also,
the
I think
Avengers coming together and fighting Thrawn.
Oh yeah.
Matt
like
gets
Avengers
it.
Endgame.
Massive 360 shot of them in front of a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
Loading their weapons. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, no, that'd be sick.
They're just coming in like the Purgle whales.
Yeah.
Is someone at some point going to say Jedi Assemble?
Jedi Assemble.
Oh, yeah.
Just a real close up on someone going, "May the force be with you." Dum bum, dum bum, dum bum 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 bum. Yeah, no, that'd be sick. Actually, no, it wouldn't. Please don't do that. But yeah, no, I feel like these films will definitely feed more into the newer stuff as opposed to the sequels, because they always want to be building on stuff. They always want to be setting up the next thing. I don't think they have much hope in, gaining a load of interest into The Force Awakens, and The Force Awakens blows up on Disney Plus after this because they must watch it after the Heir to the Empire film. No, I think it'll garner a lot of interest for maybe the Ridley movie, or even the one set however far in the past. I think Acolyte, if anything, will do that really well. Yeah, fingers crossed James Mangold doesn't drop the ball with that. Because I don't know, Indiana Jones wasn't amazing. I can't really see him directing. Almost in my mind, the one set in the past is almost like a Ben-Hur 4-hour like mythical movie.
10 Commandments
type that. Yes, exactly. Prince of Egypt, like grandeur almost. And I don't know if James Mangold's the man to do that. But we'll see. Yeah. But no, definitely it'll feed into the new stuff.
Can I give mine? Just my
Go.
view.
Do,
and
please.
this is like absolute based on nothing, but something I think would really work, because one of the questions that is asked about like who's going to be the new big bad, not in the Filoni-verse. I'm talking like after, like the whole point of Star Wars is there's always this conflict, and it's, you know, essentially the Sith are gone. It'd be difficult to and it seemed a bit stupid to reintroduce a new Sith antagonist at that point. But here's my view, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, James, with like Baylan not, you know, he was a Jedi, but he doesn't see himself as a Jedi. But then what we know is like every episode, or every series or movie, another Jedi survived Order 66. Some of them kind of continued as Jedi in hiding, and then you know, some have maybe had visions of like rebuilding the Order. Some of them have Padawans, like we see with Shin. Shin's knowledge of the Jedi is very much from what Baylan has taught her. She doesn't understand that. So what I'm thinking is essentially what you're going to have is this like very broken network of former Jedi and potentially new Jedi who only know what they've been taught, all with a very different perspective of what it is to be a Jedi. Some who had a view maybe like Baylan is like, look, it's not that I don't see myself as a Jedi, I just don't agree with what your view of what the Jedi Order is now, a bit like what Qui-Gon like conflicted with. So then we get to kind of raise Jedi Academy Order, but it's not the only one, and we have different views of the Jedi, and essentially, not to play on the Marvel thing, but we get like Jedi Civil War. And maybe it starts quite like diplomatically, and it's all, you know, it's the council, and it's like they kind of operate in silos, but then there's a council of them that come together, like a grandmaster from each comes together, but that creates conflict and disagreements, and then from there, and I think there's something there as they keep bringing like more Jedi back, because the whole point is that, especially with the dark times of the Empire, they've all had their different experiences, and that ultimately gives them all a different perspective of like what a Jedi's role should be, especially those who were around in the Republic and can offer and just like experience that and saw the fall of the Jedi. I don't know.
That'd be really cool. Would any like Jedi that we know now still be alive? Like who could be around? James, who could be around at that point
during the New Republic era?
End of Rise of Skywalker-esque time.
The problem
Cal,
is,
I imagine, could be very old.
Cal would still be kicking. Even Ahsoka could be at this stage, but she would be very old, like very, very old. I always loved the theory that Ahsoka would survive, be a very elderly woman, but she would serve as the Yoda of that era. She'd be very wise, and she would, you know, she's seen and done it all. She's been on both sides of the fence when it comes to with the Jedi and without the Jedi, and what it means to find your own path and things. And I think that because she now knows what went wrong with the Jedi, and Rey learned what she learned from Luke about Luke's whole lesson of I'm going to teach you why the Jedi should die, was actually teaching her what was wrong with the Jedi. So that's what she's taking on instead. And I think with that combination of here's what we used to do to here's what Luke taught me, we'll combine that, and then that becomes, you know, the brand new Jedi Order. But like in terms of the end of the Rise of Skywalker, it depends what happens with these characters. Ezra, he'll be old enough. Cal Kestis, Merrin. I know Merrin's a Night Sister, but there's something there. There's so many that I feel like they could make an appearance. I want to say Grogu, but at the same time, Grogu has made his choice quite clear. And I think with someone like Grogu, because of his attachment with Din Djarin, Grogu is more in line to keep with this path. It doesn't make sense for him to go back, considering that he had that choice, he made that choice, and now he's living with it with Din, and his people are with the Mandalorians. And way after, long gone, that Din goes, Grogu has only been taught majority of his life-wise of how a Mandalorian lives. So he's going to continue that. A badass Mandalorian, but a Mandalorian nonetheless.
Just throw something out there though. He's not ready yet, but when the time comes, Force Ghost Yoda is right there. He's not passed over, and you know, Grogu is at a point where he can talk. He probably loses Din, like that's inevitable unless he went first. But you know, that there is a moment he maybe feels lost. Yoda is like, he's ready now, and he presents himself to Grogu. He's like, look, this is who you are. And
I think with this era now, with like the New Republic, it's quite delicate in terms of you don't want to introduce too much, and you don't want to have something big and enormous happen during this period, because I know that there's been 30 years since episode 6 to 7, but you still have to remember that there are many planets out there that were part of the Civil War. Still look at the Jedi's myth and legend. Rey lived on Jakku, and the final battle between the Empire and the Rebellion happened on Jakku. Yes, she wasn't really like born around that sort of time, but at the same time, she is living amongst the history, and yet she still regards them as myth and legend, along with quite a lot of others. So when you start to introduce like the whole concept of more and more Bokken Jedi being trained like they were, if you bring in too many, then it's like, well, where the hell were all of you by the end of episode 7 and going into episode 9? So it's just finding that right amount of, Thrawn came back, but you know the war only lasted a week, something like that, where he's awesome to all us. We know it's going to be potentially something amazing, but you know that he can't really go into at least a 20-year reign of the Empire being back on top for a little while. It doesn't quite fit that narrative to that degree, or at least make it look more fluid. I do like the idea of introducing more Jedi during this period, but like I'd like to see a different perspective of them taking more of an Obi-Wan kind of thing, where it's like, no, we're done. Like, I think we shouldn't do anything. Whoever's out there that wants to fight, you can fight, but I'm kind of done with it. Or you can be like the Theron Burr of those kind of people that would find as many people as they can and train them up, and be a little bit more darker about it, like attempting assassinations and things like that. I think there's
is that the guy that Vader kills in the comics?
Yes, he's a Niktochi. He had like the horns that came down, but one of them was cut off. He's very cool.
Yeah.
But he was like, but even though he was a Jedi, he was quite sinister in his fact. He was more, well, I'm going to manipulate the Mon Calamari, so that way the Empire is going to get on their backs. And this whole thing is going to serve as an example to the galaxy, because that will rise hope. Like, everybody will take this and go, what you're doing is wrong. We should rise up and do something about it. So Ferren Barr was happy to sacrifice an entire planet for the sake of creating a rebellion. And in a sense, it worked, because it did inspire some. But it's a horrible way of going, I'm sacrificing one planet for millions more. And it's one of those fine lines that you see a Jedi be pushed to a limit where they're becoming more flexible with their morality. It's a very interesting thing when you look at the individuals, not as them as an ideology as a whole. I think that's the main thing that we would love to focus more on in the New Republic era.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go. Any other theories on that?
I also think that it'd be really cool if Baylan wants to go back to the beginning, to have that tie into the James Mangold film in some way, whatever that means. If he's going back to learn about and gain knowledge about the start of it all in the history of the Jedi or the Force or whatever, to have that tie together would be really nice. It seems like Thrawn is also afraid of a bigger threat. Same with the Night Mothers on Peridia. There was something that they didn't want to encounter, and Thrawn was barely even on the ground. He was staying in his ship. Maybe he was fearful of something along with them. To know what that is, and then if that comes into play, if that power arises, maybe that's what Thrawn is afraid of. Maybe that's why he wants to go back to the main galaxy and try to bring the Empire back in order to face that threat, or to at least protect against it. That'd be really nice to see our characters defeat him, but yet he says, you don't even know what's coming. There's something else out there, to then impact the Rey film at the end of it all.
Yeah, and I probably think that's the more realistic option, is like that then becomes the big bad later in there, and it's a nice connection. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, though, that's for sure.
Oh, it is. It is.
Anything more to add, or shall we a bit adieu?
No, it was fun. I'm glad that we got to talk about it, and this was my Ahsoka therapy, honestly, because I haven't really gotten to speak about it with anybody on the internet just with some close
Yeah.
friends. So this was great.
Good. I always like it.
But-
Just you figure things out, don't you, by just thrashing it out and throwing stupid ideas around. We're like, oh yeah.
It always makes me realize how little I know, and that's I
Same.
love that. It's
Yeah.
it's great to learn, and it's great to be back on the Opie-Verse. We've all missed it.
We have.
Yeah. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like,
Well, but let's
crack
hang
on.
Let's just hang on for that a sec. But let's talk about what just generally, what everybody's got going on. And if you guys who have stuck with us all night, and thank you for that, really appreciate it. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. For those who are new to this channel, I used to do, but like brought it back. And every time we used to do like the beginning of a Star Wars series, we talk about what we're expecting, what our hopes and dreams are for it. Then we get together when it was finished and talk about how wrong we are, but how amazing it was, nonetheless. So would like to kind of bring that again. But then I used to have like a weekly stream where I would talk with one-on-one with a content creator about.
Go back and watch them. They're really good. And it's real. Me and Liam went back and watched my first one that we did when I was on 10K or something, like when I'd only just started uploading
we
videos.
Talked so much shit.
Straight out of my ass. Like they're just he was asking me, do you reckon you'll see yourself doing this long term? I was like, nah, I'm not in it for the money. Do it for the joy of it. If I do it for a week, I'll be happy. How times have changed.
Yeah. And Gabby is
really
the only
fun.
one that has out of everyone that has not been in that format. So Gabby would make a great guest. But less about me. Gabby, what have you got going on?
Not a lot, to be honest. Not a lot at all.
Just making content.
Just making content, being at home, working when I'm working. That's it.
Sucks to be alive. But, a quick question, actually, just a quick TikTok question. Are you in the Creator Fund, or have you joined the new Beta Creator Fund?
I was thinking a lot about joining the Creator Fund, and I didn't. Is that still going? I thought it was taken over by the Better.
It is,
Better
but if
one.
you were in the original one, I think you can stay in it. But it's a matter of
right, yeah.
So you're in
my
neither.
videos aren't over a minute, so
oh well.
that's me out of that.
I just joined that today just to see. So this is where you'll see things turn
good,
to
it's
shit for
good.
me.
No. It's weird. It's weird to try and grasp. I've done a couple of videos over it. You know what really got on my nerves? About a month before this thing started, I had a video that was like 1 minute and 30 seconds long that did 15 million views. And if I was in the bleeding beta then, I would have been rolling in it. But I'm not. Anyway, but you earn about £1 every 1,000 views. But
The more views you get, the more it
somewhat
drops.
like
doesn't it?
that.
Yeah.
Like so like a video that did was 1 minute and 30 got 70,000 views, but I only earned 35 quid off that. So it's like £1 every 1,000 views, but half of the views count.
That's still better than what it currently is. I mean,
which is like 1p every 1,000 views or something.
Yeah, because I think I remember doing one video. I couldn't even remember what the view count was, but I think it turned out one video equaled about 79 pence. So when you're doing a video that's done very well that earns you 35, you're going to see a big difference towards the end of the month. So
I think the
James,
transparency
you do longer form content, so it suits. It would suit you immensely.
That aside, Henry, you got much on coming weeks, days, months?
Yep. Busy. I've got a haircut on Tuesday, and then I've got a board game night at my local comic book shop on Wednesday, and then I'm in London for EGX, which is a gaming convention at the XL. I'm there during the Thursday's manic because I'm there from about 10 till 3, and then at 3 I go to Disney's 100th year exhibition opening thing at the
Which
XL.
is also at the XL,
So I'm there from 3 till 5, and then I go for tea, and then I go back to the XL from 6 till 10 for the after party. And then I've got a night with Amazon next week, which would be cool for all of their new releases. Hoping from Invincible. You guys like Invincible?
Oh yes.
Yeah, hoping for some stuff around that. And then MCM at the end of the month, if any of you are going.
Not me,
I
unfortunately.
will be there.
I'm on the fence at the minute, but I'll make a decision next week. Henry, what's the name of that Star Wars board game you were showing me in your comic book shop?
Oh,
again?
Star Wars Shatterpoint is a real, for Star Wars fans here, Star Wars Shatterpoint is a Star Wars themed skirmish war game thing, similar to like Warhammer, Kill Team type thing. But it's most of the sets at the minute are based around Clone Wars. So the starter set, you play with like Ahsoka and the Loyalist Mandos, and then Anakin and the 501st. You go up against Maul and his Super Commandos, and Asajj and some droids. And it's really fun. It's really fast paced. And it's a great little entryway into the world of miniature wargaming. So yeah, I mean, I'm deep into my Warhammer and everything, so it's easy for me to get into. But for someone who hasn't played a tabletop game before, really recommend Star Wars Shatterpoint.
Cheers, Henry. Matt, what you got coming up?
Oh, the question is, what don't I have coming up? I'm busy as ever here in my four walls, trying to get as much Lego built as I possibly can by the end of the year. I would like to clean out house and get all of the content done that I need to before then, to then be caught up. Oh my goodness.
Scared the life out of me.
But
my father, by the way.
Very nice. Guest appearance. I will be streaming, like I said, try to once a week on Twitch. Trying to do more on YouTube. I just put a vendor review out this week, which took a very long time. So I'm trying to get back into the flow of doing that sort of content. Long form.
Great video.
I appreciate that, Henry. Thank you. But other than that, the typical short form will be on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. So feel free to come and check out what I have planned for the future.
And for anybody who maybe doesn't know Matt, who is a Lego fan, is maybe on the fence with some sets, Matt is a great person to follow because, as we acknowledged earlier, he is in the Lego Ambassador Network, but he does not make that prevent him from giving an honest review, but he does it in a very constructive way. So if you are looking for an authentic and genuine opinion, but whilst it's also respectful, Matt is a great person to follow for that as well.
I do my best.
Matt was also my inspiration for getting into, well, one of them. Liam and Matt were my two inspirations for getting into content.
It was
so
all
Matt. But no. I liked your little, here's how to make a Jedi boss and stuff. So that was almost a JB impression then.
It was.
But no, Matt and Liam helped get me into content creation. So Matt's the best. Matt's cool. Just like whenever I see you on one of these lives, Matt, I'm always like, oh my god, I was watching you for a year before I started making content. You're the man, Matt.
I really appreciate that. Those are very, very kind words to keep me inspired for sure. Thanks, Henry. You can reach out anytime, my friend.
No, cheers, bro. Thank you.
James, what have you got going on?
Same as always. Read as much as I can, learn as much as I can, film, edit, everything. So it's never a break with me. I'm always seeking more and more knowledge in reference books or novels, and we're getting more novels now than ever, which is fantastic, especially in the new era of the High Republic. This really does shine a great light on how the Jedi used to be. It's a very interesting concept to see how or why they started to lose their way. So it's a great time in terms of lore because there's always a new character that has a different perspective on things. But yeah, that's me. I'm reading as much as possible, as fast as I possibly can, answering everybody's questions as detailed as I possibly can to make it as succinct as I possibly can. So it's just busy.
Nice one. Sounds like everybody's busy.
And
Even I'm
you,
busy.
Liam?
Oh, you sound so
about
much
you?
more exciting than me.
Well, I mean, at the minute, I'm doing my. I don't know whether it's my like swan song for TikTok or if it's just like a final roll of the dice to just see how things are going. But I'm basically doing a daily top 3 video on like just everything. But I've covered a lot of Lego, done some Star Wars stuff. But I'm doing the kind of 60 to 90 second videos as well to see how they play. Do you know what? I'm really enjoying them. So like that's my commitment, to do that video every day in October, and just see kind of what it does for me. I've spoken to Matt quite a bit about this. Henry, I've spoke to you about it. Like, you know, James, you and I had Nerd Juice like beginning of the year, which is kind of just like wilted away a little bit. Just so many people trying to work on the same schedule is really tough. But you know, this is what I ultimately enjoy, is that like nerding out with like-minded people. I would like to bring. I always really like these ones, but they would be so few and far between that it just kind of doesn't do enough. But I had to stop doing the one-on-one sessions because I took on a new job at the time, and it was just overly intense, and I had to focus on that. But I feel like I've got a good grip of where everything's at. So I'm pondering, I'm just considering, like, do we bring that back? Do we do a format change a little bit? Well, you know, Henry, you and I were talking about this last week. Do I do some pre-records, or does the live, like, do I play around with it and see, or do I give the option to different creators to see, do you want to do live or do you want to pre-record? We can edit it down. So I'm pondering, but I go on holiday in like 4 weeks' time. So I'm just thinking I'm not going to do anything before then. I'm in kind of quiet pondering mode. And then maybe I kind of put some irons in the fire out, and then kind of kick back off and have a good run between like November and Christmas, because that's a really good time for this sort of thing, when, you know, it's dark nights, everybody's kind of a bit in and bored, it's cold, and looking for things to do. But also there's a lot to talk about as well, because it's a great time for cinema, TV, like everything's getting released, especially in the Lego space. So like, let's talk about all these things that are being released. So yeah, I'm pondering is where I'm at, but nothing's ruled out. But I do miss it.
That's good to hear.
So watch this space. Watch this space. So for those of you who may have joined me and followed these guys over tonight, I would definitely say, like, I would recommend whoever brought you here, go and check out their Opie-Verse episode if you haven't already. You'll find the playlist in there, but feel free to check out all of the others. There might be other people in there you recognize, but Gabby, certainly if I did bring this back, you'd be one of the top of the list to bring in and have a good chat with, because you're a bit of an enigma. Like, nobody really knows a lot about you, and I would love to like sit down and like let's get to know Gabby. I'm like a
closed book.
You are. let's open that book. And but yeah, we'll see how it goes. And I do have, the thing is, when I stopped it before, I kind of ran out of ideas and people. The community's refreshed a little bit. I'm connected with people I wasn't connected with back then, so there's fresh opportunities. But you know, we'll see. I'll see you no more. But to you four, thank you for giving up your Sunday nights, and thank you for being part of this conversation. I certainly hope and believe it won't be the last time. And for all of you who've come and joined us tonight, I really appreciate you giving your time. I hope you found it beneficial. I hope you learned something. Hope it give you a bit of a perspective on something, whether it's Star Wars, Ahsoka, or even just fresh insight into one of your or some of your favorite creators. That's what we're about here at Opie-Verse Productions. So yeah. But until I see you again, thank you all. And this is the part where we all say and wave goodbye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Yeah.